Simple Car Guy here, and today we are taking a look at this INNOVA 7111 bidirectional scanner. We'll see how easy it is to find problems and potential fixes using this software, how easy it is to use, and what can you actually do with this tool. Let's find out. This INNOVA 7111 comes very nicely packaged and in a very good quality hard case. So you can always have a place to store it when not in use. Inside we have a card reminding us to update the firmware, which you definitely should, as they have improved the software quite a bit lately, as well as a quick start guide that points you to an online manual. This manual is very well written and shows pretty much all functions of the tool. And if you need any help with any of this, they also have a US-based support, which you don't really see a lot of these days. We also get the charger and the OBD2 cable that snaps into the scanner. And of course, the tablet itself. It feels very rugged and well built. It's easy to hold in your hands thanks to these little ridges on the back so you can rest your fingers. Easy to grip, and it doesn't flex or anything like that. So I do like the construction here. The little stand on the back, this one right here, makes it easy to stand on a table or hang it on the steering wheel while you're working on the car. So yeah, pretty nice and well thought through design. Once you're in the car and you've plugged in your OBD2 cable into the car, it automatically figures out what car you are in. So as you can see, it shows me I'm in a 2016 BMW i3. That's the VIN number that I will probably blur out. And we can even get the information from the vehicle about the mileage, so we can pull the mileage as well. The most surprising thing for me is that I didn't know this was a wireless tablet. So as you can see, I don't have it plugged into the car actually. So normally I would expect we have to plug in the other end of the OBD2 cable into the scanner just like this, which is what I've done the first time I've used it, but it actually worked wirelessly, so that's pretty cool. I guess you can do both. Looking at the top three categories here, we have OBD2 diagnostics. This is going to be more standard OBD2 diagnostics, but we'll definitely go into that. We also have OEM diagnostics, so that will do a full scan of the vehicle, and we'll be able to go into every single system and each module and then see live data and things like that. We'll see once we get there. Workshop tools is basically your special functions. In here, we can go to previously used vehicles. So if you scan, the same vehicle a lot, we can just go in here and that makes it a bit easier. Settings, let's go straight into them and see what we have here. We have support, like I said, US based, so that's super helpful. You can contact them from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and get some help. Here's our time. That's going to be my Wi-Fi. So I do really recommend connecting to Wi-Fi because you can then generate reports and get information about the vehicle, like recalls and technical data and everything else. So you can change the region, language. Let's see what languages we have in here. Well, English or Spanish. Idle time, volume, and brightness. So let's maybe turn that up a little bit. And yes, the most important thing in the settings here is the version. So make sure you check for updates and get it fully updated to the latest version, as they have improved a lot of items, on these scanners. And yes, you do have a full user manual on here as well. You do need internet for that, so it downloads a PDF of the latest one. And here on the left, we also see kind of the same options. We have support settings and home. If you go back home, we can also click on support, and yes, this will just give us the tool library, so it can help you, with each of these functions, so you can know how to use it better. And we have technical support that you will actually contact the support. All right, let's start with OBD2 diagnostics. So once you go in here, it's going to scan the vehicle. It will take probably, I would say, 20 seconds or so to get all of the information. Well, actually, that was much faster. So there it is. And the first thing we see is emission readiness. So this thing right here, right, it shows us green. So that means we would pass emissions. This is a quick and easy way to tell if your car would actually pass emissions. On this i3, it's an electric with a range extender. We have some of the systems that are ready to go since the DTC has been cleared, which is fine. They're all green, so I drove the car since clearing the codes and everything is ready to go. You also have view drive cycles, so we can get that information as well. Takes a minute for it to update, but yeah, all of it is ready to go. Then we also have live data. So if we click on live data, this is the standard PID. So like what most scanners can do that show live data. You can select everything you want in here, right? So a bunch of different PIDs. And we can click View, give it a second. It's going to rearrange everything and show us the actual information, right? So very easy and yeah, well displayed. But we can also graph. So that's a pretty cool item on this device, that, this big tablet with a big screen. It's very nice. The colors are good, and you can see all of it being graphed. The refresh rate is very good on here, and you can do up to 10 PIDs at the full speed, or you can do much more. I think I've done 15 and it does work, but it is a little bit slower to pull all of the PIDs at the same time. We can also record this and review it later. Going back, we also have OBD mode tests. So this is the standard, like I said, OBD2 stuff in inspection monitor modes. We can do evaporative testing and onboard diagnostics. Nothing too crazy or that interesting here. Now, the next one is, this is very different from all the other scanners that I've used, is that it actually will show you recalls and technical service bulletins about this vehicle, and even tell you like scheduled maintenance and everything else. So we have actual recalls from the NHTSA, right? So now it's telling me here is the latest recall for this vehicle. It tells you the corrective action. The BMW will notify you and tell you when needs to be replaced, some clip or whatever that needs to be replaced. So yeah, that's one, and there's going to be another one there as well. We can also look into the TSBs. So we have all of these TSBs that are available for different modules on the vehicle, like leather care and all that stuff, and the date when it was issued. So very, very cool. And there's a lot of this stuff, it's going all the way back to the beginning of the vehicle's history, I guess, right? So all this information easily available and very easy to get to. So this tells me that this device is mostly aimed at a technical workshop and maybe not like very simple DIYers, but I find this very useful because I did this on my 335. So I found out that my airbag and the blower motor wiring is under recalls, took it to BMW, got it replaced for free. Very nice. Otherwise, I wouldn't really know or think to look for it, right? Anyway, we also have scheduled maintenance. So here, this car is approaching 100,000 miles. It's telling you what to do, right? So you have to measure brake lining, wipers, all this other stuff that you need to inspect. And for some of the stuff, it will actually tell you what will be needed in order to do so. So you can do the change brake fluid, right? It tells you, hey, here's the brake fluid you will need. You don't have to think about it. It's just right there. And it gives you a link to buy as well. Same thing for the engine oil. It took me probably half an hour or so to research and find which filter I needed, and that I needed the cross washer. I do have a video on how to replace the oil on this BMW 3, so check that out if you like. But yeah, it tells you everything that you need, the prices, and super easy. You just click buy parts, or you go and, you take the part numbers and search it yourself, whatever you like. And it tells you all the other stuff that should be inspected and done on this vehicle. And you also have predicted failures on this car. There's nothing. If you take a BMW 335, there will be a few things that it's a more popular vehicle. All right, let's go to OEM diagnostics and see what that's going to do. It'll tell you to turn off and turn on the ignition. I don't think it's necessary, but yes, you should if you're actually diagnosing some hard problems. Now, here are two options. We can scan all systems or do vehicle inspection. Let's do vehicle inspection first, because what this will do is kind of scan everything and give you a report that shows you most of the things that you need to know about the vehicle before working on it. All right, so this did actually take about a minute, maybe a minute and a half, but here is what you are presented with. So we have the emission readiness monitor that we saw earlier, but it's just telling, yes, this is ready to go. We now see that system diagnostics, we have 3 modules that have faults in it, so we can review those in a little bit, and 22 modules that don't have any faults. We also have the battery life, so our battery is at 14.67 volts, that's good. We also see TPMS, so it's asking us to check, PSI. We also have oil life, well, this is an electric car, so that's why it's showing 0%. We have coolant level, also not serviceable on this vehicle, like I said, electric vehicle, so maybe that's not supported. But you also have front brake pad life okay and rear pad life okay. You can also tap here for details on how to repair some of these items, which is one of the bigger differences from the 5610 INNOVA scanner. That's the handheld version of this tablet, basically a little bit cheaper, but mostly does the same stuff, except here this is built in, and on that scanner you have to actually use your phone to get the app to then connect to the repair solutions and then download the software from the scanner to the phone in order to get the information. A little bit complicated, but it does work. I've showed it to how it works in my previous review of that scanner. But yeah, so this software is preloaded and basically ready to go. But as you can see on this screen, it gives you a very nice overview of what's happening with the vehicle. So if you want to show it to your customer, you can show this pretty quick. So going back, we can go to scan all systems, and this will scan all of the modules that you saw listed just at the bottom there. So there's 25 modules on this vehicle, as we saw from the report, and it will basically rescan them and then be able to show us all of the codes. We can clear the codes, and we can, of course, see active tests for modules that are supported. More on that in just a bit. So this takes about 45 seconds, but then you have all of the modules that are on this vehicle, and it tells you which ones have faults and which ones don't. Now, we can just hit erase all DTCs and it will erase everything in all of the modules, or we can rescan stuff after we've done some fixes or things like that. So for example, we can click on this first module right here that has 2 faults, the body domain controller, and we can click read DTCs. Then it's just going to show us the code. So on this car, it's going to be the rear window defroster, whatever it is, not working. And that's actually true. It's not working. So maybe something I'll look into in the future. But yeah, there you go. You have the code. And of course, you can clear the code. But if it's a permanent code, it's not going to go away unless you fix the issue. So on some items, as you can see, we can read and erase DTCs, but we cannot do actuator tests or special tests. These are the bidirectional functionality. So let's see where we can actually do that. So on the dynamic stability control module, we can see live data, for example. So it's going to scan all of the PIDs that are specific to this module and not necessarily the engine or the transmission module that we saw earlier in the OBD2 functions. But yeah, here are the items that are available on this module. So you can see the speed sensor for each wheel. But where is that bidirectional functionality? Well, if you go to this module, for example, so the digital motor electronics, right? Here we have the live data, actuator test, and special test. So let's go to actuator test since we've already seen live data. This will just be more of the same, but more specific to this module, of course. And here are the active tests that we can do. So we can turn on the electric fan relay, we can turn on the electric fan itself, and we can turn on the electric coolant pump. So pretty cool functionality here, but what are the special functions then, right? Let's see what those are. All right, click on that. And here we can reset the engine oil. Anyway, let's go back to this main menu where it's going to rescan our modules. And let's talk a little bit about, how much bidirectional functionality it actually has. To me, it seems like it can't do actuation tests on all modules, which I know some scanners can on this vehicle. And for this price, I feel like it should do a little bit more of those actuation tests, especially on a vehicle like this. The other bidirectional functionality I will show in a minute, but yeah, this is kind of a big selling feature. So I'm hoping they can add more modules that support these, actuation tests, and especially seeing live data. So we don't see a lot of live data for many modules. Like I said, it's mostly for the specific modules where we can see live data. That shouldn't be that difficult to add to the scanner. So maybe something that we can look forward to in the future. Next, let's go to workshop tools. And this is basically your special functions. This is where you can go and get voltage for your high voltage battery in this BMW i3, so that function right there. And if you go into a regular car, this function will change to a battery test and a battery registration items. These items will change depending on which vehicle you are in. So the functionality is kind of catered to the car that you are in. Very cool. Not a lot of scanners do that. A lot of them will show 25 different special functions, but only 3 of them work on your BMW. So, pluses and minuses, I guess. On some things you can see what else could be done on other vehicles, but here you see exactly what can be done on this vehicle. What can be done on this vehicle? Well, we can do the oil maintenance reset. We can register batteries, so reset the battery. If you change the battery in most BMWs and most modern cars nowadays, you have to register it. Otherwise, it will basically be overcharged and you will kill it within a few months. You can also do electronic parking brake reset. We can also do steering angle sensor calibration, very important. Also transition fluid temperature, ABS bleeding, and the EV battery health. So let's go in there and see what it actually can show us. It's kind of an interesting one. We don't see that on a lot of scanners. And here we can see the voltages for, so we have the high voltage in the DC to DC converter, high voltage in the inverter, raw signal from the voltage inverter, and a few other items like the state of charge of the high voltage battery, depending on which point. Not sure exactly what those mean, but probably pretty useful if you're trying to troubleshoot a high voltage battery. In general, I think this is a very nicely designed and polished item. Everything that I have shown works well. It's pretty quick, and it doesn't lag behind or seems like it was, a last minute kind of design thing. It's easy to use and understand, so there's not a million menus that take you to 20 million different items that are very difficult to get a grasp of. I also really like that it's a US designed and supported item, so we're supporting local jobs and it's going to be easy to reach their support. Well guys, that's all I really have to say for this scanner. I hope I have helped you decide on which scanner you'd like to purchase. If you'd like to purchase this one, I do have a link in the description to Amazon. And of course, if you want to check out the handheld version of this tablet, click on this video to check out the review on this INNOVA 5610. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.